I don't know, it's my video, I can do what I want. Hey everybody, good morning to you. At least it's a good morning here. Thanks for joining me today. This is my annual video where I talk about my favorite photos of last year. So it's now March and I'm a little behind as always. I did Yellowstone and Africa trips. I've been back for a little while now, getting caught up, and this is part of me getting caught back up so I can do this video. I say this every year, but these are my favorite photos of 2024, not necessarily my best photos, because of course that is completely subjective. And what I think is best probably is different than what you think is best. So these are my favorites. Some of them I think are excellent. Some of them I think are probably kind of mediocre, but they have a special meaning for me in some way. The experience of making them, or some kind of a connection with the subject, etc. So they mean something to me. They might just be a snapshot to you, and that's cool. That's part of photography, right? It's all subjective. It's all art in this case. I'm not a documentary photographer. So anyway, let's get started. I'm doing my favorite 24 photos of 2024 with a bonus at the end. You're going to get a bonus image. But let's get started here with a controversial is the wrong word for this, but let's call it a polarizing image. This is intentional camera movement. This is obviously two bison, bison mother and her growing calf, photographed with a slow shutter speed. So this one was 1/10 of a second, f/36 ISO 64. This is camera movement. The bison are moving through the frame, but also my camera is moving from the frame, giving some interesting blur. Simple scene, just pure white. I dig this kind of stuff, and a lot of people don't. So if you don't, hang in there, because there's a bunch of photos that aren't blurry coming up soon. But the first one's blurry. I don't know how that happened, but it did. The trick on this one is making it very bright white. So I don't know what I was at here, but I was probably at least +2, maybe +2.3 on exposure compensation. And on a mirrorless camera, it's very easy to make sure that your snow is nice and white. Just look at your histogram in the viewfinder before you take the photo and just keep making it brighter and brighter until you see that push all the way to the right edge. Then you know your snow is nice and white, because the meters on all cameras that I'm aware of tend to underexpose snowy scenes. So make it nice and bright on these. Okay, number 2, this is in Tanzania. Obviously a lioness, and we were super fortunate to have a foggy morning in Ngorongoro Crater, and we got to watch this couple of lionesses kind of hunting. They were stalking a wildebeest that was nearby. They never did end up hunting it. They couldn't get close enough. But it was super fun to watch that happen in the fog. And I love this kind of dreamy, misty. Again, it kind of simplifies the scene for me. I like simplification. So when I get fog, it simplifies things like this. And I dig the look of it. So beautiful, subtle colors, lovely subject. And as she glanced over towards us in the safari vehicle, that was the moment to take this photo. My settings here are f2.8, 1/2500th of a second, and ISO 800. And I had a nice fast shutter speed dialed in there in case they did decide to take off and go for a hunt. I wanted to make sure I had plenty of shutter speed there. So, but I could have got away with like a 60th of a second here if I wanted to, because the animal was not moving very fast. All right, next. I'm just, for the record, I'm just doing these in chronological order, so not in like the order of how I rank them or anything like that. So this is another one in Tanzania, and this is a lion cub that climbed a tree, and there were a few of them cruising around climbing trees, which was really cool and fun to watch. Don't get to see a ton of lions climbing trees, but in this case, we did. And this one happened to climb up right into this beautiful little crook of the tree and hopped up there and turned and looked at us. And we were pretty darn close to them. This is full frame with the 400 millimeters uncropped. And so I just barely had enough room to fit the tip of the tail in down there at the bottom of the frame. And so I'm glad it let me keep the tail in there, because I would have hated to cut that tail off. I would have felt terrible about that. So anyway, this one was f2.8, 1/2000th of a second, ISO 500. And beautiful photo. The way it's kind of grasping the tree with the big paw and looking back over the shoulder with the mouth open, a nice gesture. And then, of course, just framed in there in the beautiful nook of the tree. So lovely subtle colors in there, nice soft light. Everything just kind of worked on this one. Super psyched about it. All right, on to the next image. This one is obviously 3 flamingos. These are greater flamingos, and we see quite a few of them at different places. This was at Lake Ndutu in Tanzania, and lovely soft light, beautiful subtle colors, the pinks, overcast, so it made the water in the reflection is reflecting that bright, cloudy, overcast sky and making everything very white. Another one where I had to expose very bright. This one was, again, probably at least at +2 on the meter. But because of all the white, it's kind of like shooting on snow, where the camera's going to underexpose those. And so I took it until as bright as the brightest thing could be on here, and then backed it down just a hair. So I wanted it very nice and bright. And we pulled out some feather detail, and the rest of the water all just turned pure white. So wonderful photo, you know, some symmetry here with 3 birds, with the one in the middle and the 2 on the sides. The 2 on the sides are head up looking at each other, which is great. That third one in the back, you know, in a perfect world, I would have loved to have had it, you know, maybe looking straight at the camera or something. But I wasn't given that opportunity. So this is the opportunity I was given, and I still love it. I think it's wonderful. These 2 happen to be in the same plane of focus, happen to be both head up, similar poses, looking at each other. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. It's not perfect. When is an image ever perfect? But it's a great photo there. So this one was, let's see, f11. So I stopped down on this to get a little more depth of field. 1/1000th of a second, ISO 1600. And you know, when this was shot at 530 millimeters, that kind of focal length, it's really hard to get much depth of field. So even at f11 here, you know, stopping down even more, you're kind of you're gonna lose sharpness in the sharp stuff because of diffraction, and you're gonna pick up just a little bit more definition in the farther bird. So it's kind of a trade-off there, you know. I'd rather have my 2 front birds super tack sharp. I did the best I could with this. There's no like perfect way, you know, you could focus stack these or something, but that's not my jam, baby. Anyway, there it is. Beautiful. My daughter loved this one so much, she asked me to make her a print, and it's hanging upstairs in her bedroom. All right, we're still in Tanzania, and this is a lion cub. This was such a fun scene to watch. We had a couple of lions just sleeping next to a little creek, and this one lone baby cub was kind of crawling around on mom, and she was trying to nap, and it would like bite her tail and wander off, and then it crawled on her face and started biting her ear and stuff. And so it was a super fun scene to watch. The photo was like pretty cool, but I think this is one of those that's like, meh, well, it's like a nice photo. The scene, it reminds me of how fun it was to watch this little cub play. in a beautiful scene. We had that little creek in front, so we were across the creek. This is one where I used the upside down monopod trick to get the camera basically sitting on the ground outside of the safari vehicle, because we can't get out of the safari vehicles when there's lions nearby. So this is the camera sitting down low so I can get a good reflection on this as well. And the good reflection is relative. There was some movement in that water that was creating some highlights that didn't make it a great reflection, but the reflection's there nonetheless. So anyway, this was f2.8, 1/500th of a second, ISO 800. Again, nice soft light, nice subtle colors, simple, clean photo. I dig it. And just super fun experience to be there and watch that happen. Moving on to the next one. This is also in Tanzania, and this is two brothers, two big, beautiful male lions that kind of hang out together, and we spent quite a bit of time with them in different scenarios and different situations. This one, they happened to both, they were like laying down together, sleeping in a bit of a pile, and then they happened to both get up and start moving together. And there was a brief period of time where their footsteps were synchronized, and that's what happened here. So it was a great opportunity. I chose to go black and white on this one. There were some different layers of color in the background between browns and greens, and actually I think that little creek that the other lions had, I think that creek is back here as well. So there was too many different like competing colors in the background that I wasn't digging on. So I went black and white here to kind of clean up that background and put all your attention on these lions. And I believe I used a orange filter on the black and white conversion here to let the lions, the yellows and oranges in the lion fur, be brighter than the greens and blues that are in the background. So that again, that really helps them pop. So anyway, a beautiful photo, two really compelling subjects converted to black and white. The settings here, this was with the 400-2.8 at f2.8, ISO 1600 and 1/500th of a second. And I'm flirting with that edge there on the 1/500th of a second is kind of, I generally, with a big mammal walking and moving slowly, I generally set my minimum of like a 400th of a second. Then I know the vast majority of them are going to be nice and sharp. These guys were really close, so when an animal gets closer to me, I like to have a faster shutter speed because the relative motion is higher, and so there's a greater chance for some motion blur. But these were all tack sharp at 1/500th. In a perfect world, if there was more light, I would be at 1,000th of a second there, and that would work a little bit better. But it all worked out great on this one. But I was flirting with that edge to not get my ISO too high. So I can make the huge print out of this if I want, because it's that ISO 1600 is really good image quality, and the lions are tack sharp and beautiful. All right, moving on. We have left Africa, and now we're in the Tetons. We're back home. I'm cheating. I'm going to cheat on this one. I'll admit it. I apologize for cheating. But I have this photo and this photo that I'm counting as one photo because I couldn't decide which one I liked better, which one was more deserving to be in my top 24. So I'm putting them both in here as one photo. I don't know. It's my video. I can do what I want. So this was May of 2024. We had this incredible worldwide aurora display, and we had it here in the Tetons, and it was fantastic. We were lucky to have clear skies. It was kind of an afterthought. Like, I knew it was happening, but I've seen enough auroras here in the Tetons that I'm like, yeah, it's like cool. I've done that. But the closer it got to it, the more people were saying like, hey, this one's going to be something special. And so I kind of at the last minute, I went to my son's bedroom first thinking, if he wants to go, I'll take him out. Otherwise, I'll just stay home and get some sleep. And so I popped my head into his bedroom, and it was like at 8:30 at night or something. And I was like, hey man, there's supposed to be a Northern Lights display tonight. Any chance you want to go out and try and see it? And like, he's lit up and he was like, yes, that sounds amazing. So then I was like, okay, I guess we're going. And so then I went and asked my daughter. She was like, nah, I'm going to get some sleep. And Stephanie was like, yeah, I'll go. And so we just kind of on a whim just jumped in the car, and it was already getting dark, and we drove straight all the way up north to Jackson Lake. And this is the first place we set up here and kind of watched. We got there after the sun had set, but it was twilight and just beautiful blue hour. And honestly, it was just wonderful sitting there with my wife and my son watching the sunset. And we've got this beautiful scene with snow-covered Tetons and Jackson Lake, nice and calm. And the full moon was out. And so it was like this gorgeous scene anyways. And then the show started. So the colors started popping up there. I'm on the shore of Jackson Lake, and it wasn't doing that whole dancey thing yet, you know, where it's up in the sky and it's moving real time, which is crazy. I'd never seen it like that before. That happens later. So anyway, this was kind of early in the show. The moon was still up, and it was just color. And you could see this with your naked eye, but it wasn't like smacking you in the face yet. But the camera really picked up the gorgeous colors, the blues and the purples and the greens and the aquas and everything. So it was really spectacular. And this, Jackson Lake is like my favorite place on the earth, and Mount Moran is my favorite mountain. So I'm just really psyched to have this image. It's just really cool to have this kind of color in the sky and a really unique scene that might not ever happen again like that. I don't know. So it potentially was a once-in-a-lifetimer to get that cool of a display here in the Tetons. But anyway, super psyched about this one. So then we kept, you know, we kind of got bored with this location, and then we went to the Oxbow Bend and set up and did some there, and then down, just kept working our way south. At every pullout we'd stop, and like at Elk Ranch we stopped, and I photographed to the east and to the west, and to the north, there was some beautiful colors, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, and we just kept moving further and further south. And eventually we made it down just front and center at the Tetons, one of the main pull-offs right there this was taken at 11:30 in the evening, just at one of the main pull-outs, right along the main highway there. And it was blowing up, and it was dancing, and it was doing all that stuff. And we stopped I had to get it with the Grand Teton. This you could see with your naked eye. It was very impressive just standing there to the naked eye. My son got some amazing stuff just with his iPhone. So it was really great. And this frame in particular was great. We had beautiful streaks happening over on the right side. And then we have these two big streaks that are kind of leading lines straight down to the Grand. You know, we've got this purple one coming in right down to the summit, and then this big green one coming in right down to the summit. And, you know, those shapes and the colors were moving all the time. So to get this cool one with, you know, this kind of V of color coming in down right to the summit, it looks like everything's kind of radiating out of the summit. I was super psyched to get this one as well. So to have an icon like this, the Grand Teton, just an iconic view, the cathedral group with, you know, the colors and the Northern Lights was pretty darn special. Very grateful that my son wanted to go do that, because I might have just slept through it, and then I would have been horrified when I woke up the next day and saw how incredible it actually was. So anyway, this was a 2-for-1 on this one. What is this, the 7th image? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 7th image. Yep. All right, let's go to the 8th image. Again, we're back home in the Tetons. And this is Mama Bear. I think probably most of the people watching this know that she was killed tragically, hit by a car later this fall. This one was taken in June. And so this one's special to me in a handful of ways, but this was the last truly good photo opportunity I had of her. I happened to be on a workshop. I had clients with me this day. They were psyched, of course. And, you know, you don't get many opportunities in these bear jams to make good photos anyways. It's just so many people, so many rangers and traffic and people getting in your way and rangers telling you to move. And it's so chaotic that it's really hard at bear jams to get good photos. At least the way I define a good photo, it's really difficult to do that in these bear jams. But we just got lucky this day. We parked in the right place where I was thinking she was going to walk out of the woods, because we had seen her earlier and kind of been following her, as was the rest of the crowd. We parked on the side of the road, off the road like we're supposed to. There was a ranger right there. She popped out of the woods right where I thought she would, coming straight at us. The ranger, and they were right in making this call. I think that the rangers thought it was best that those of us that were parked right there were a few of us, just stay there, stay in your cars, and let her do her thing. Instead of adding more traffic chaos and movement to the scene, just chill and be there. And so we were in the right place at the right time. She walked straight at us. This is full frame with the 400 millimeter. It was still before the sun came up, so it was pretty dark. This one is f8, ISO 2000, 1/800th of a second. So as she was coming closer, I kind of just kept cranking up my ISO a little bit faster and faster, because the closer she gets, the faster shutter speed I need. And so I think I was probably targeting 1,000th of a second here, and I didn't quite get there, but I was taking pictures along the way. So beautiful frame of just her walking straight to the frame. And then the one out of this series that was the best was when she had that paw up and those claws just lighting up like a firecracker. That's, to me, what differentiated this frame from the rest, was that claw position, and that's the frame. And that's, this image then became the cover to the special section in the local newspaper about Grizzly 399. And one thing that the newspaper was super cool, check this out. So this was the cover of the special newspaper section, but then they were cool enough to give me the black plate from the printing press. So I'm going to frame this. It's metal. And so this was the actual plate from the black ink that they used to make the cover. So I thought that's a pretty cool keepsake to have. So I'm going to frame this, and I think it's really neat. So I doubt anybody from the Jackson Hole News and Guide is watching, but I don't know whose decision it was to give me this, but it was fantastic. It might have been Brad Boner. If that was you, I appreciate it very much. But really cool keepsake, so I'm psyched about that. Okay, so that's 8 images. I think I'm going to end this section right about here. Let me do a quick plug. Spring workshops are coming to see bears. We won't see Grizzly 399. She's gone, unfortunately. But we do have lots of other bears running around. Blondie's up there, 1063's up there, 610's up there. There's a bunch of bears running around. 610, hopefully we'll have new cubs this year. Time will tell. But spring workshops are available now, and there's still a fair amount of availability. So come join me in anytime. Late April through to mid-June is kind of prime time for spring photography here. Grizzly bear season and migrating bird season and baby elk and baby moose and baby stuff happening. So it's a great time to be here. Jump onto my website and check the schedule, see if there's any days that would work for you, and come join us in the Tetons before the crowds get too thick and before the hotel prices get too thick as well. So, okay, anyway, thanks for joining me on this first section. Join me on the next one for the next set of images. I appreciate you watching.